What up, y'all? My name is Coach Reese, and this right here is the first episode of the Prophletics podcast. Yeah, it's a bit nerve-wracking right now, trying to get used to, sitting and looking at the camera directly or whatnot. Trying to choose what background, what heavy bag I'm gonna use. I've talked to, a couple partners of mine or whatever, and told them that I had the idea of shooting a podcast. And then I got a call from my brother-in-law the other day, and he said I need to pull the trigger on this. So needless to say, here I am. I am a husband, father of two, boxing trainer, capoeira professor, master fitness trainer, music producer, hip hop artist. A man that has a few talents or whatnot that, I do kind of share my wisdom to those who will listen. Share my wisdom to in the gym when I'm training them or whatnot. And I've been told that I need to share this with more than just the individuals that I see on a daily basis. So now I'm sitting here looking at a camera and talking to y'all. Questions I get asked a lot are mainly about boxing and fitness, sometimes music, but boxing and fitness and things of that nature. So, I'm going to go ahead and address a few things on this podcast. And I'm also open to any maybe questions that you all might have or whatever, or any topics that you all might want to talk about or whatnot. So I'm down for it all. So let's get started. I'll give y'all a little bit of background about myself. Fortunately, I get to do what it is that I love every day, which is personal fitness training, boxing, and teaching the Afro-Brazilian martial art of capoeira. I am a professor, aka a formato, in that I have my own group, Prophletics Capoeira. As far as boxing goes, I do have the Prophletics boxing team. I've been boxing on and off for a while now. I first got into boxing training when I was training under my coach, Jeff Teague. I moved down. I'll start there. I moved from Michigan. I'm Saginaw, Michigan, born and raised, and I currently live in Harvest, Alabama. I moved to Huntsville, Alabama with two of my brothers back in August of 2023. And I was living on a specific side of town, the north side of town, where there used to be a gym called Cosmos. And I went over to Cosmos gym to work out, and I saw my future coach in there training a guy who looked like a Super Saiyan to me. And his name was Jamal Brooks. He stays out in California right now. But I seen these guys training and working out, and I was very, very, very intrigued by what I saw. So I just walked in, sat down, and didn't say anything. I didn't introduce myself. I didn't say a word. I walked in, I sat down, and I just watched because I couldn't believe what it was I was watching. Jamal had years in and, had sparred with a few pros or whatnot. So I'm watching this guy go to work, and I'm like, man, that's really, really, really amazing. So I do this for a few days. I go in, sit down, watch, not say a word. Go in, sit down, watch, not say a word. Until maybe the fourth or fifth day I did that, Coach Jeff looked at me and said, why don't you come out here, and try it out and see if you like it. I'm like, okay, cool. I'll go out here and, do what it is that I think I know how to do, which is throw street punches or, lunch hand right hands or lunch room right hands or whatever the case is. But so I go out there with Coach, and he's teaching me these, forms or whatever the case is. And what I found out really, really, really quickly is I had no idea how to fight. I thought just because I had a couple of, high school fights or, whatever the case is, college situations, college scenarios that, I knew how to fight, and I'm 23 years old, and I'm getting in there and getting broke down. Why am I so tired doing these few little footwork drills? And he's telling me how to turn my hands and how not to telegraph punches and, things of that nature. So, it was a real humbling experience, but not quite as humbling as the first time I had to spar. And I had to spar with Jamal. Jamal Brooks is about 5 5'6", little Bruce Lee cut guy. And when you drove around Huntsville, you would see Jamal in the morning. Like you're going to work 6 o'clock in the morning or whatnot, and Jamal is running around town with his shirt off. You know, California dude. So he got his shirt off, he got his bandana on, you know, running around with a weighted vest and ankle weights on or whatnot. Trying to see what that ticking is. But anyway, he's running around with these ankle weights on and, you know, warming up with 500 sit-ups, and, you know, he's got freaking ankle weights wrapped around his wrist, and he's hitting the bags for 10 minutes to warm up. And I'm like, you want me to spar that? You know, like, come on, man. Like, I've only been boxing maybe a week, week and a half at most. But you want me to go in there and spar that machine that originally drew me in here to watch what you guys are doing? And I'm like, all right, cool, whatever, you know, I'll do it. So, man, nerves going. I mean, stomach shot, all of that just going. So he hands me the headgear. Now, I act like I don't know how to put the headgear on, right? So I grab the headgear and I put it on, and I'm like wiggling it around or whatever. And coach comes over there and pulls it on my head real quick and straps it up real fast. And I'm thinking in my head, hey, man, slow down. Like, I'm not in a hurry to get out here and die. But straps me up, tells me, he was like, you're tall, Jamal's short. Use your jab. He should not be able to get in on you. I'm like, cool, here we go. And we had the little rotary clock back in the day. This is back in like 2003 maybe. And he's got the rotary clock. You hear it buzz and go off. Boom. I go out there, nervous as heck, jabbing. I swear, it felt like 10 minutes had passed. My arm is just going numb, just shoulder burned out. Jamal hasn't even put up his hands yet. So he comes up, he's in my face doing moves like this. Moving his head, turning his head, hasn't put his hands up yet. I'm looking at coach like, hey, like, what am I supposed to do with this? And coach was like, you know, just keep working. And I'm watching the clock. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna survive. It hit 2 minutes, and I dropped my hands, and Jamal jumped at me, and he did like this. I look at coach, he was like, put your hands up, it's 3 minutes. I'm like, okay, man, listen, I'm about to knock this little dude out, right? So I just learned how to throw a hook. Jamal was standing right in front of me. I pulled the hook, and I went to throw the hook, whoosh, and Jamal was gone. And the hook started moving in slow motion. I saw a coach, and there were a couple other guys in there that were watching. Big Nate, who ran security, rest in peace to Big Nate. But he's sitting over there, and I'm like, where did Jamal go to? And I felt the biggest punch to the stomach I have ever felt in my life. So when it hit, it felt like a cinder block hit my stomach. And he hit it, and whoosh, my stomach shifted over. And as my stomach shifts over, I look over, and Jamal is already over there. So he has shot the hook and pulled over to the right with the hook. So he has hit me so hard that it has drawn me to where he's headed to. So he pulled me over there, and I shifted. And by the time I started shifting over there, he had came across and cracked back across and spent the headgear. And I saw the white light, and I took a knee. And this happens for all fighters, amateur, pro, I don't care who you are. This happens for everybody. Your defining moment. That was my defining moment. When I took that knee and I felt those two shots, the hardest I'd ever been hit in my life, I had to make a decision. This is for me or it's not for me. I got back up. I sat there for a minute and thought about it because I was just distraught. Like, yo, I've never been hit like that in my life. But anyway, I got back up and, you know, finished taking my beating out there or whatnot. But anyway, after that, Jamal like took me under his wing, you know, and showed me a lot. So I'm very thankful to that brother, man. Both he and Coach Jeff have, you know, taught me a tool that now, you know, allows me to provide for my family. So that's how I got into boxing. How I got into coaching, Jamal had moved. So he moved back to the West Coast or whatnot. And I was at another gym with coach. Our coach gym jumped or whatnot. So he coached at this gym and coached at this gym and coached at the other gym. And we did a lot of moving around. So we finally got at a sufficient spot at a gym or whatnot. And he used to run late all the time. I was the most experienced person in there who had been boxing with coach for a couple of years or whatnot. So if class started at 7, coach would pull up about 7:30, 7:45. So people got tired of waiting. And they looked at me and said, hey, you're the most experienced. Why don't you start us warming up or whatnot? And I'm thinking to myself, okay, I've had a couple of, leadership positions. I was a former, drum major or whatnot. I'll get into all that later on, maybe different episodes or whatnot. But I'm thinking to myself, yeah, if y'all listen, that's fine. I'll warm us up or whatnot. So we're in there warming up, doing a few of the warm-ups, and coach walks in and he stops. And I'm looking like, oh man, he's about to lay into me, whatever the case is. He just kept moving. And he gave me the look like, keep going. I'm like, okay, bet. Needless to say, coach started coming later and later because he found out that he had somebody who, who would run the warm-ups for him or whatnot. Eventually, coach started working over a lot of whatnot, and he was not able to show up. And, a couple of people came to find me or whatever because I was the closest thing around this area to the skills that Coach Jeff was actually teaching. So needless to say, one thing led to another. Here I am today, an official boxing trainer. So that's my boxing story, how I got into it or whatnot. On that note, I'm going to get into a couple of boxing topics. Over this past weekend, we had the Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney fight or whatnot. And I've been asked a couple of times, about my opinion on that or whatever, because I do put out opinions and things of that nature on my other social media handles or whatnot. But people asked what I thought about the fight or whatnot. Here's my feedback on the fight itself. It was a good fight. Ryan Garcia did his thing. I personally thought that Ryan Garcia was not going to do his thing. I thought Ryan Garcia and all the antics or whatever, because I'm not really a fan personally. And that's my personal bias that got in the way. I am not a fan of the antics that a lot of fighters, promote and produce or whatnot. I'm more of a disciplinarian. So all the side antics and things of that nature, I'm personally not a fan of. So I was fooled into the fact, or into the facade, that he wasn't focused, that he was out here tweaking or whatnot. Come to find out, he was not. He was on his A game. He had a plan as far as, the weigh-in goes. And this is my issue with weigh-ins. My personal opinion as far as weigh-ins go, and why I think, Devin Haney took the L from a stronger fighter and a faster fighter, because Ryan Garcia was, stronger and faster. Not really a fan of his defense. He has a bad shoulder roll. He turns his entire back and, rolls and exposes his back or whatnot. But that's a different subject. The weight thing. In every division except for heavyweight boxing, weight classes are trash. I'll call it what it is. Weight classes are trash. The reason I say that is back in the day, the Sugar Ray Leonard, Mike Tyson, days of weighing in, they weighed in the day of the fight, which meant that you weighed that pretty much that night of the fight. With boxing being more of a money grab now for a lot of fighters, and I get it, fighters should get paid, especially for the stuff that they put their bodies through. Don't get me wrong. I'm not opposed to that at all. But at the same time, the day before weigh-in has ruined the integrity of weight classes. I'll say that again. The day before weigh-in has ruined the integrity of weight classes. The reason being, these guys are rehydrating the day after up 2 weight classes, at least 2 weight classes. So if we're supposed to be watching a fight at 140, we're actually watching the fight at, 154 the next day, or whatever the case is. The rehydration, it's like they're pulling a bodybuilding scenario. You know, with bodybuilders, they dry out, they are at the worst condition they could possibly be in. And you can see that in a lot of fighters when they're on the scale. You know, the faces are super sucked in, and, you know, they've got bodybuilding type striations or whatnot. And then the next day they come back full. They come back. So if we're not watching a 140 fight, just call it what it is. We're watching a 154 fight. You know, you've got middleweights hydrating back up to light heavyweights. You've got welterweights going to middles. You know, you've got junior welters going to junior middles, which is what I thought I witnessed, you know, with the Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney situation. You know, you've got the 140 class going to 154. So the weight class situation itself is a sham nowadays, in my opinion, unless it's heavyweights. You know, those guys can weigh whatever they want to weigh, which is another subject that I'll get on later on. I also think it's trash too. But anyway, Ryan missed the weight class. He was up to 143 when he was supposed to weigh, you know, $140 or whatnot. Their plan overall was to, you know, lay Devin Haney out and do what they did. It didn't matter about weight classes, because weight classes really don't matter to that extent. It's really not that important. Why would I worry about, you know, weighing 140 if I know you're going to come in 150, 152? Come on. It's become a money grab. You know, other than that, Ryan was the faster. He was the stronger. And he had Devin Haney's card. You know, it was an impressive fight and an impressive display by Ryan Garcia. You know, Devin Haney, in my opinion, got dropped 4 to 5 times. And that 10 count that the ref was in on, that was like a nice 13, 14 second count situation. But, you know, no matter what the case is or whatnot, the job was done by Ryan Garcia. So congratulations to Ryan Garcia on his win. Another thing I want to touch on as far as boxing goes is how branding plays into, you know, getting big fights or whatnot. Big names are always going to get the bigger fights. You know, we're looking at situations where we want to see Canelo fight Benavidez. We want to see Boots fight Terrence Crawford or whatnot. Names sell fights. Branding is your most important tool that you got. Your name is everything. Your name means everything when it comes to business branding. A lot of these guys aren't getting the fights that we want them to get because they're failing at branding. You know, fighters are too inactive. You know, we're in this social media age right now, this digital age or whatnot, as to where I'm doing what I'm doing right now with you. These guys could do the same and build their brand. That's why we get things like Jake Paul. I'm not a fan at all. You couldn't pay me to watch a Jake Paul fight. But I do understand the business of branding and how it happens. You know, he's already got a following. He's got a massive following. People are going to spend millions of dollars with this guy. You know, so it is pretty intriguing for others to jump into that pool as to where, hey, he's bringing money to the table. He's bringing a brand to the table. You've got other scenarios, and I don't know their specific scenarios or whatnot. Boots Ennis just signed with Matchroom. Now he's got something to bring to the table. When he was on his own, or I don't know if he was with Showtime or if he had a deal at all, he wasn't bringing anything to the table that was even intriguing for Terrence Crawford. You know, high risk, high reward. Of course, you know, who do I think will win on that fight? We'll get into that later on. That'll be a different video. But branding your name. You know, Boots has been inactive. And I respect what he said recently. He said, hey, I have a family to feed. These fights are taking too long to, you know, make happen. Unfortunately, he wasn't also signed with one of the major bodies or whatnot. You know, he wasn't signed with the DAZN or Matchroom or Top Rank or anything like that. So he didn't have the funding behind him. You got to have funding and you got to have a brand. For a lot of fighters, they need to do things outside. This is just my personal suggestion. They need to do things outside of boxing to help keep their brand active. Coat drives, food drives, get in these schools, get in the community, be a community figure. Being a community figure will actually help you build your brand. There's plenty of things these guys can do besides just, videos of them training. Everybody puts out training videos. Everybody gets burned out on training videos. They're mainly doing the same thing, a little bit of pad work, a little bit of bag work, and then what? Nothing. What's your brand? What do you do? Who are you? Nowadays, you got these tools as to where you should promote who you are and what you do outside of there. Even if you're a private person, you don't have to expose your most intimate details at all. But you should at least have some type of viewing as to how you're active in the community and how you're interacting with people. A lot of people use like drama and beef, and that's one thing I did not like about the Garcia and Devin Haney situation is all the extra rah, at these weigh-ins or whatever. That's not even needed. For a lot of people, that's not needed. All you have to do is just be a positive community figure. Run a back to school supply drive. Run a coat drive in the winter. Run a Thanksgiving food drive for, that holiday, for Christmas and things of that nature. There are plenty of opportunities that a lot of fighters are missing out on, in my opinion. And that is ruining their branding. That's ruining their opportunities to get the fights that they quote unquote so-called desire or whatnot. So, that's that. Getting into some personal training. Oh boy. Very touchy subject for a lot of people. I consider myself working on mastering the simple. When it comes to fat loss, such a touchy subject. When it comes to fat loss, I don't do anything complicated when it comes to my workouts nor my nutrition. I don't do anything, and I'm a certified sports nutritionist or whatnot, but I don't do anything complicated. I repeat the same thing over and over and over, like Marshawn Lynch said, and over and over and over again. It's simple. It's easy to do. I do have my times where I have my cheat meals, not cheat day. Please stop with these, these cliche statements that you hear other people say. Not cheat day, cheat meal. I do have, a couple of cheat meals during the week. I have kids, so I'm going to have, pizza, with my kids or whatever the case is. I'm married, so I'm going to, have date night with the wife, and we're going to eat whatever we want to eat, whatever the case is. But even when we go out to eat, the food that I eat isn't bad. It's just the dessert. So I really have a dessert, a bad dessert or something like that. But I'm not overindulging to the point as to where it's an entire cheat day or anything like that. So mastery of the simple is where you will actually get further in this fat loss, muscle building journey. Notice I said both, muscle building and fat loss. They work simultaneously. The more muscle that you have, the more calories that your body burns throughout the day. That is how you speed up your metabolism. Simple, end of story. That's the end of the story as far as that goes. People think that they can just simply eat less and they'll lose weight. And you will. You'll lose weight, but you won't lose fat entirely. You'll lose muscle tissue. You'll go into a state called catabolism, as to where your body goes into survival mode. With your body going into survival mode, it's going to hold the body fat because it's afraid that it won't get any more fuel, because food is your fuel. It won't get any more fuel. And it's going to feed on your muscle tissue. So your body is going to feed on one of two things: your stored energy, which is your adipose tissue, your fat, or it's going to feed on the muscle tissue, which you are supposed to be working on gaining. So with you trying to just eat less to drop weight or whatnot, you'll drop weight and you'll probably look the same. Dimensions probably won't change. You get those people who get the label skinny fat. because yeah, you lost weight. It's obvious, but you still look droopy. And it just is what it is. It's one of those situations as to where it's unavoidable. One, you got to hit those weights. You've got to pick up your metabolism. You've got to get more active. Being more active is the solution. You'd be surprised at how much I eat or the plates, that I eat or whatnot when it comes to working out. Or when it comes to burning body fat and building muscle, because you have to build the muscle. You can ruin a lot of your metabolic processes too by too low of a caloric intake. You got people who are colder, or they're colder because their body isn't getting that thermic effect. There's a thermic effect that happens when you eat. Your body actually warms up while it's breaking down the food in your body. The calories that you intake are also used for other processes that you don't necessarily have control over. Your brain function, your heart function, your lung function, all your organs require calories for them to function properly. So what's going to happen when you take too low of a caloric load in? All of those are going to have issues too. It may not function correctly. It just is what it is. So those super low caloric intakes, not wise, not smart to do. You guys need to make sure that you're ingesting your correct calories. See a nutritionist, contact me for meal planning or whatever the case is, and I'll show you the simple way to do it. But you guys have to make sure that you're taking in the correct calories. Other than that, you're going to have a hard time and a sad build. The backs that you're talking about losing ain't going nowhere. You're going to have that back forever, big back, or whatever the case is. And forever dad bods. Stop with the dad bod thing and stop with the thick thing. Just stop. Stop coddling the fact that you're overweight. It just is what it is. Stop. I've been a dad my son is 14. I've been a dad for 14 years. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear the dad bod, like it's some trophy or something like that. And I'm an active dad. My wife and kids are at home with me. So I don't want to hear none of that. You guys love to give yourself excuses, and the thick mantra the same way. You guys want to claim that you're thick, but yeah, that those belt sizes, are also thickening out too. Those clothes sizes are going up too. But, the cloak of accountability, and the mirror's image is something that doesn't exist for a lot of people. I think I'll stop today's podcast right there as far as that goes. I got onto a little boxing, a little fitness or whatnot. I plan on keeping these episodes going once a week. If you have any topics that you'd like me to touch on, let me know. Email me, prophletics@gmail.com. Go and follow all my social media, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, X, it used to be Twitter, all of them, at Prophletics, Prophletics. I'm uploading this to YouTube, so I hope you all, subscribe. I hope you share, and I hope you enjoy. So, yeah, let me know what you think. Drop some comments, feedback, good, bad. I don't care what it is. Drop some feedback, and I will get with you all next week with another episode of the Prophletics Podcast.